Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are going to talk about HAKUBA International School. Let me start our session here. Hi, Michael. So I am joined by Michael Stuart Lyons, who is going to join us next year as one of our faculty. And hold on one second. Okay, let us start a session. First of all, I'd like to just briefly talk about what kind of school we are going to build next year. So we are going to be an international boarding school catering to 7th to 12th grades, basically 6 years before university. And we are going to be sustainability focused. We'll be offering sustainability focused curriculum with lots of project-based learning. And we would like to offer international baccalaureate diploma program in the last 2 years of a program. And we would have a very strong focus on outdoor education, which Michael is going to talk a lot about later. And we also are committed to incorporating social emotional learning in our environment quite a bit. And we are going to open our school in September 2022 with 7th and 8th graders. And we are thinking of welcoming maybe 15 to 20 students in each year group. And so each year we grow the school, and at full capacity, we'll be having 20 students in the middle school level, which is 7th to 9th grade. And we'll be having 40 students per year group for 10th to 12th grades. And so we will have a total of 18 students when we are at full capacity. Okay, let me just briefly talk about why we want to build a new school. We feel like our current school system is not doing such a great job of preparing the students for the next century. What we really need is to foster the soft skills in the students, such as critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, communication skills, collaboration skills, creativity, and all those things. And in order to foster those skills in the students, we feel like we really need more of an inquiry-based learning and project-based learning, and more like an interdisciplinary approach and all of those things. And at the moment, we still use the system which has been used in education for over 100 years. And we feel that it's about time that we try a new model. So rather than the education model that we grew up in, which is more like a factory style education where we are trying to foster the kids in a kind of a same way, we would really like the learning to be more of a journey or an adventure that we kind of, as an adult or educator, we cheer them on so that they find their own path. So we really are trying to build a new education model from HAKUBA, and I'd say that I'm very lucky to have our current core members who are very experienced educators, and we also have advisors. Some of you probably have participated in our webinar 2 days ago, and we've been very lucky to learn from those excellent educators, and we are building the team as we speak. And as I said, I'm joined by Michael Lyons, an English teacher and outdoor educator, and he will take it from here. Please go ahead, Michael. Okay, you may be muted.
Sorry. Yeah. So do you want to go off your slide and I'll go onto mine? It's probably easy.
Can you share your screen?
Here we go, because you're still sharing yours though.
Okay, I probably should stop.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, everybody. I'll be there in a second. All right. Can you see my screen now?
It says you started screen sharing, but yeah, here we go. Yeah, I can see that.
Technology, it's going to make our lives easier. I'll quickly scroll through.
Yep.
All right. Come on. Why is it doing this? There we go. So it's being a bit laggy. So it's okay. So as Tomoko-san said, you know, our main reason, our main passion for doing things differently is that the learners of the future, the learners of today, but certainly the learners of the future, need to be much more plastic and flexible in their learning. We just don't know what the world's going to be like. And so these students need to be able to adapt, to reimagine, rethink, do things in different ways. And so the focus on knowledge and on a very narrow set of skills no longer is of much use to them. Certainly not as much as it was for my generation and the generations before. So this has really been the driving force behind Tomoko-san creating a new school. I won't spend too much time on it. Obviously, with project-based learning, and I'll go into that in more detail in a moment, the main aim is that teachers are no longer the font of all knowledge. We are not standing at the front, filling the minds of the young minds with lots of information, where we take a role more as a guide. As they find problems, we help them find solutions, but we don't tell them what the solutions are. That's their job. Okay, and I'll go into that in a moment. So the breadth, the types of staff we're looking for, we're going to have, are not people who are specialists in one area. We're going to have staff who are good in lots of different areas and can make connections. This obviously will allow for a very strong student-to-teacher ratio as well, which we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's see how that goes. I won't go into that too much because Tomoko-san's already talked about that. What I do want to talk about is these 6 key areas of what makes us unique. And one of the things that we very early on was focusing on is that no one thing would take precedence, that we wouldn't focus on making them smarter through project-based learning at the expense of helping them develop socially and emotionally. That we would just be a school in HAKUBA. We wanted to be a school for HAKUBA, connected with the community. And again, I'll go into these in more detail. But my main point is that each of these areas that you see in front of you are equal in importance. And that is one of our strong values. So it's a boarding school. So residential life is going to be a big part of these students' lives. Excuse me. And boarding life or residential life, I've worked in Switzerland and in Japan, can differ quite significantly depending on the focus. It can be a place where children and students can be empowered to grow and learn, or it can be a place where they feel crushed. So one of the main focuses for us with residential life, sorry again, bit of a lag, come on, is that the learning doesn't stop. So when the students walk out of the day class and walk it back into their residential life, the learning that they've been doing, and we'll talk about that in more detail in a moment, will continue. So residential life for us is a place where students and staff are living together, where they're creating a community. And we're in a community that everybody has equal voice. Rather than adults telling the children what to do and how to behave, the students are going to have a voice in how their community is created. And obviously sharing the responsibilities of creating that community. But we feel that this is a great way for the community to grow and prosper. And if the community prospers, so do the people in that community. We want to create a place where students are engaged, responsible and participating in all aspects of their residential life. So students will be responsible for managing their day-to-day lives. They will be cleaning their rooms. They will be keeping their place, their home, something that they're proud of. they will be caring for it. And that means that when it comes to rules and regulations, rather than being imposed, that the community creates the rules that best suit the community to function effectively. Okay, and again, they're responsible for that. Also, it's a place to help your peers learn, especially in the first couple of years. We'll have kids who are a very similar age. But as we go further down the path of this school, we're going to have kids of a broad range. So this is a great opportunity for the older kids and the more mature students to help guide the younger students. Again, sharing their experiences, their successes and their failures of how life living away from home, which can be very challenging for some, can succeed for them. And as I said before, deciding how life at their residential life grows and evolves. Each year will be different as kids move up into the senior years and as kids leave. So residential life is a very, very important part for us, and we don't see it as separate from the learning that happens everywhere else. Staff who are teaching project-based learning will be involved in residential life so that they don't feel that it's a separate life. We want everybody to be involved in all aspects of it. Which leads to the main source of learning during the day. As Tomoko-san touched on, we're going to be focusing on project-based learning. Project-based learning at its heart is creating genuine, authentic, real-world problems for students to solve. Not for teachers to solve for them or adults to solve for them, but for them to come up with multiple ways to solve problems, to test multiple ways to solve problems, and then decide which one is the most effective for their purpose. So sorry, again, it's a bit laggy. So I'm going to answer 3 major questions. What it is, and I'll go into a bit of detail. How does it work? Again, I'll go into detail. And probably one of the biggest questions I get from parents, I currently work at a project-based learning school, is how is it going to give the skills that my child needs for university for the future? So, as I said, it's an authentic real-world problem that the students are given at the beginning. So rather than working on lots of skills that they see no relevance to, they're looking at a specific problem and going, right, how are we going to solve this? And as a group, as a community, they explore. Now, obviously, especially for younger kids, their life experiences are going to be quite narrow and small. But when combined with other students, the creativity and the imagination of students continually astounds people, that they are able to come up with solutions that adults hadn't thought of. They think things differently, they see things differently. But if they are struggling or just need some feedback, then as guides, we are there to help them with those solutions. Quite often, part of the solution is going to require skills development, whether it's in communication, or mathematics, physics, chemistry, depending on the nature of the problem, again, which is where the guides become a big part of the process. But project-based learning isn't just airy-fairy, throw them in the deep end and expect them to achieve things. There's a very, very clear process that assists the students to break very complex ideas into small steps, find out what skills are needed to solve each step, learning how to apply those skills that they've learned, and then being able to put it all back together in the form of a solution. Now, project-based learning doesn't always lead to success. I want to stress this at the beginning, but it's through the trying to find solutions that the students learn more than if we just gave them the correct answer at the end. I say the question they get asked the most, is it going to give them the math skills, the physics skills that they need for university or what they're going to be doing in future life? And the experience, both anecdotally through lots of teachers, but also the science shows and the results from university, that project-based learning not only gives them the skills they need for university, it exceeds it. To put it in context, Finland, if people are aware of that, have now got rid of year 11 and 12, and they do only phenomenal or project-based learning for the entire last 2 years of the student's life. They feel that the students have enough skills to now have projects that are actually effective for them planning for the rest of their lives, whether it's university or going into industry or careers. So there is no concerns in the international learning community that project-based learning is skills weak. It's the complete opposite. It is very skills strong, but the students are trying to work out what skills are necessary rather than just having skills imposed on them. So I put up here, just again, you can see the process, okay, just to show you that there is a very rigorous structure. So quite simply, the project is presented to the students. Excuse me. It might be a question, might be a problem that they have to solve, but it's very clear this is what we need to be achieving. The students then look to it and try to work out how they are going to solve it. So they start to look for things that they recognize in the problem that they might have solved before, applying prior learning, prior knowledge. Students then start to inquire what other things will they need to solve this problem. Again, some will be intrinsically created through prior learning. Some will be teacher-driven or guide-driven. Others might be just from pure research. They got an idea and they go and explore. All of this leads to all of the key 21st century skills that all the major educators are talking about: collaboration, communication, using technology effectively, presenting ideas, communication, critical thinking, managing knowledge and ideas, and probably one of the most important skills in the 21st century and probably now, listening. Really listening to what's around them so that they can learn from others. Then it phases into the inquiry and innovation stage, where they have moved beyond what they are capable of doing on their own through research. So the guides then help them facilitate putting things together, finding areas that they may not know. So we might do a dropout session where we do some mathematics or physics because they need that skill to solve their problem. This goes through into the reflection stage to see if they've got everything they need. And finally, and this is an essential stage, their project is presented publicly. It's not just a teacher marking their work, but that there are authentic experts who are looking at their work and assessing what they have achieved. This is an essential part of it, so that students feel that their work is a genuine problem and not just an artificial abstract. Students are very, very good at picking up when we try to trick them like that. So having somebody from the village or an expert from the region who knows a lot about this, more than a teacher does, gives the students a real sense of satisfaction when they get some feedback. It's genuine feedback rather than just an abstract. There we go. Some of you may have seen a documentary called Most Likely to Succeed, which is based on a school in San Diego called High Tech High. One of the teachers from High Tech High has been assisting us for the last couple of months. And if you haven't seen this, I highly recommend you watch it, the documentary. It's available on most of the streaming services. You can rent it to watch it or buy it. It's a fantastic documentary in itself. But if you want to see project-based learning in action, it's a fantastic thing. And put it in context, this is about 6 or 7 years old now. Okay, so this is something that's been around for a while. And there now are a number of schools in America that are using project-based learning as their entire curriculum. So the second part is social and emotional learning. And I guess for me personally, but I know all the other core members feel the same way, this is the glue that binds everything together. Residential life, project-based learning life, and we'll talk about outdoor education in a moment. None of this makes any difference if the students are not centered and balanced in themselves, comfortable in who they are, comfortable in the community they live in, and able to feel free to express themselves. And over the past 20 years, we've just assumed that students do this naturally. But the research now shows that this is not the case. This is like any other learned skill. You need to set up the situations so that students can learn the skills of expressing themselves emotionally in an effective emotional way. Being able to communicate with their peers, with their adults, with strangers confidently, because they are confident in themselves and in what they feel. So for us, social emotional learning is given equal importance to all the others, but it's integral to all the others. When we're working on projects, social emotional learning will be integral to what we're doing in the classroom or in the field. When we're in residential life, social emotional learning will be integral to what we're doing in every aspect of the student's life. Social emotional learning at its core is about empowering the students, giving them voice. So probably some of the key questions that adolescents ask is, who am I? Okay, and this is not chronologically age set. Students as old as 16, 17, 18, adults can be asking the same question. But if we give them the chance to discover that early on, they can move into that stage quite quickly and then be able to expand their horizons. But until they know who they are, it's very difficult for them to achieve anything else. And we'll talk about one of the ways that we're going to help them discover who they are. How do I relate to others? I don't think there's anybody listening to this webinar who doesn't at some point question themselves about, how do I fit in with the people around me? And again, you can hope it happens by accident, but it's much better if you have activities that allow it to happen cognitively and explicitly. And the final stage is, how can I contribute to the world? What can I give to the world? And you can't achieve that if you don't know who you are, and you can't do that if you don't know how you relate to others. So each of them is integral, but they must all happen in order. And this is based not only anecdotally, we've seen it for many, many years. This is based on strong neurological science as well, which go to the key stages of adolescence, which is belonging, who am I, and how do I fit into others? What can I achieve? What can I do? What am I good at? Quite often we call this stage the gaming the system. You know, the kid who does something really, really well, so a parent or a teacher or a friend will admire them for it. Okay, and as a teacher, if a student does really well in school, we get all excited. And we often stop because we think the student succeeded. But the next stage is, what can I do with this? Which is the third stage for questions for adolescents. How can I contribute to the real world? So that third stage of authenticity, what I am, who I know, what I know, everything about me, right, how can I use that in the big wide world? And again, each stage must be moved through. You can't just jump, and it's not chronological. So again, this is why social emotional learning is such an important part. If we skip steps, then students chronologically might move through the system, but they might still be stuck at a lower stage. And I see it as a teacher all the time, students who are 16, but still trying to work out who they are. If they're trying to work out who they are, they're not absorbing or learning because they're focused on themselves. So I've talked a bit about why we focus on social emotional learning so much, but here's the advantages of it. And these are all proven. Increases empathy, improves relationship satisfaction, makes people happy to explore, be excited by exploring, improves the quality of sleep. Seems like a small thing, but teens today don't get enough sleep. Simple as that. Not just because they're on devices, but their brains are spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Okay, so reduces stress, bolsters cognitive flexibility, improves their health, their physical health. So there's so many reasons to do it. And there are even more reasons why it's important that you do it. The negatives of not doing social emotional learning, I feel that we're seeing a lot now. We're all parents, and we've seen our own children and their peers. So how are we going to do it? So we've got 3 areas that we're really going to focus on. The forum and the advisory group. Now, when your child starts the school, they're going to be put into a forum, a group, and that will be their journey for their entire time at HAKUBA. They will have the same teacher. Students will come and go as they get older or leave the school or come to the school, but that core group will always remain the same. And the forum is a place not for administration and discussing school life. It is purely a place for students to express themselves, a safe place where they can talk, a safe place where they can listen. The advisory group, on the other hand, is the same as the forum if it needs to be, but it's also a place where students can talk about more simple things like what's been going on in the day, what's happening in the next week, basic concerns and worries that are happening with work, with schoolwork. However, again, the forum is their safe place. So at any time that a student says, I need to talk, that is the cue for everybody in the forum to listen and create a place of safety for them. I've talked about residential life. Students are not going to be just living in dorms. They're going to be participating in every aspect of residential life. They're going to be responsible for every aspect of life. We haven't gone into detail yet, but I like the idea that they cook for each other on the weekends, that they clean their residential home together so that it becomes theirs, not somebody else's that they just happen to live in. But one of the most powerful is outdoor education. And outdoor education isn't just about skills. They'll need skills to be able to function in the outdoors, whether it's navigation skills, cooking on a stove skills, putting up a tent in bad weather skills, walking in the mountains, managing group, they are skills. But outdoor education is about the students using those skills to immerse themselves in an environment that is 100% authentic. It informs them whether they're doing well or not, without an adult or other people having to tell them. If they're hungry because they went to bed without cooking dinner, that's a very powerful way for them to reflect on their actions. So for me, I taught outdoor education for 20 years. And one of the things I love about outdoor ed is the simple fact that it removes excuses. It's a very simple experience, but the experience they have is incredibly profound. To put it in context, I've been a teacher for 30 years. I have students come up to me years after leaving school, and they never go, thank you, you were a great English teacher, you were a great history teacher. They always go, do you remember that camp I was on with you when I was being really nasty and horrible? I'm really sorry, because that camp was amazing. That camp helped me so much. Outdoor education doesn't give them immediate answers, but the experiences and the repeated experiences of outdoor education are some of the most profound learning and social and emotional learning that a student can have. So as a program, the students will be spending a great deal of time, day trips, multi-day trips, doing multiple different activities repeatedly, so that they develop the skills, so that we hope by the end of their school life, they will plan a very large expedition that they will run. Again, project-based learning invests itself back into outdoor education. So there we go. So outdoor education helps them explore relationships with themselves. Sitting in a tent, cold, hungry, wondering why everything's happening to you is a very powerful tool for introspection. Sitting in a tent, cold, hungry, possibly with a friend who's looking after you, has made you dinner, got you into a warm sleeping bag, is a very powerful social connection that cannot be understated. Being in the outdoors with a teacher, watching the teacher struggle sometimes, being human is a very powerful way to see that teachers have many skills, but they're not perfect. They're human, just like everybody else. And that allows the students to reflect on their own strengths and weaknesses as well, and realize that that's okay. Again, a very important part of social emotional learning is to be comfortable with yourself, not to expect things that are physically impossible. And obviously with our core value of sustainability, really understanding nature, experiencing nature and understanding its value, both personally and for the planet. And as I said here, as I said before, it allows people to develop authentic relationships, not based on who's got the latest clothes, who's got the best watch, but that person over there, they really looked after me. Maybe they're not the coolest in school, but when it mattered, they were the friend I needed. Did you want to talk about community, Tomoko-san?
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the nice thing about HAKUBA is it's a village of the population of about 9,000 people. So it's small enough that you can really create a meaningful relationship with people in the community. If you look at the picture on the upper left corner where we are sitting down with the lady who is sitting on the floor, she's an ex-Olympian. She represented Japan in ski cross, and she runs a little like accommodation in HAKUBA. And last summer, during the summer program, we went to interview her because the project that kids were working on was to come up with the sort of a blueprint for HAKUBA to be the much more like much better and more amazing place in 2030. And we were doing an interview with the local people. Yeah, I guess, and also we'd love to build a relationship with the local schools as well. In HAKUBA, there are 2 primary schools and 1 middle school and 1 high school. And because our students will be the same age as the students in middle school and high school, we will be doing probably lots of activities together, so that our school on its own is not a large school, but they would have a base or more friendships to foster outside of our international school. And we are hoping that for the boarding students, we might be able to help them find the host families in HAKUBA, so that they have another place to go to. Maybe on the weekends, they might want to spend a night at their host families, do a barbecue. I think it would be a great thing to do if they could foster a relationship themselves with the local community. So those are the things that we are thinking about in terms of a connection with local community. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, and just to add that, again, with the project-based learning, there's a wealth of knowledge and experiences in the village that we will be tapping into. So for the projects, and some of the projects may well involve helping the local community. So again, they're not just there, we want them to be a part of our lives as well.
Yeah.
It's clicking. Oh. Do you want to talk about that, or shall I? Because I changed it a bit.
Sure, go ahead.
So we've talked about High Tech High. which is an amazing school in San Diego in America that's doing project-based learning. I don't know if many of you have heard of the green schools. There's a number of them now around the world where they focus on environmental issues, using the school as a place for students to really connect on a range of different levels with nature. And at the heart of it, we want to do all of that, but better. We want to create a school that connects with project-based learning as an effective tool to help them grow as learners. But we equally want them to be really connected with nature, to really understand nature, not just to experience it occasionally or go for a ski down the mountain, but to actually really immerse themselves in nature. I know it may sound arrogant, but we want to be the best school for the 21st century in Japan. As simple as that. And we've worked very hard at creating a school with values and an ethos that we feel incorporates all the best of the green school and the high-tech high, but links them all together. Do you want to talk about that, Tomoka-san?
Yep. I guess a lot of people ask me like what kind of school calendar we would be having. So this is like really preliminary, but I kind of put it together. So we're kind of thinking of having the entrance ceremony, which most international schools don't have. But I guess next year it's going to be the very first day of school for us, the full-time school. So I think we'll have a nice ceremony on the 1st of September. And we are likely to go on a camp for a week to just like what Michael talked about. We want to foster relationships. We want to get to know each other. And so the first week they're off in the nature camping. And we will probably have about 6 weeks of project-based learning cycle. So we'll work on the projects for about 6 weeks. And then we will have an intersession type, like we take a time off, maybe we'll go to a little cultural trip, or we do another outdoor activities, or we will have some kind of a break. And then we'll have another 6 to 7 weeks of projects. And oh, by the way, at the end of the projects, I guess Michael touched upon it, but we would have an exhibition where the students can show what they've learned to the audience. So I guess we will be having like an autumn break for about a week, 3 weeks of winter break. And Michael, if you could flip to the next slide. Yeah, we will have 2 weeks of spring break. And then at the end of June, before we conclude the school year, we'll go for another camp for a week. And then we get into the summer holiday. So July and August would be summer holiday. So that's kind of the schedule that we are thinking of. But this, again, is very preliminary. And as we are kind of building the curriculum, we will have much better ideas to, what the time schedule will look like in the annual calendar. So as we build more concrete plans, then we'll be sharing with those who will be joining us next year. Okay, and if you could go to the next one, thank you. And a lot of people kind of asked what kind of day the students will be having. So this is what we are thinking of doing. So 8:30 in the morning, we get together. And then in the morning, apparently, is the best time to work on the project. Like the students can really focus in the morning. So we have a long spurts of projects in the morning, and then we'll have lunch. And for certain types of lessons, I guess it's better as individual lessons rather than put together in the project. So things like math or the languages, English or Japanese, or maybe physical education, we'll probably have about 15 minutes of those lessons in the afternoon. And then we'll always have the advisory group at the end of the day, just to have some room for something that we need to discuss before the school concludes. And then about 3:30, we finish the day for the day students. And then the students may go on to do their extracurricular activities, and we'll support whatever activities that they are passionate about as much as possible. I'm sure lots of students will be doing the skiing and snowboarding and all that. And there'll be many other activities that the kids can do in HAKUBA. And we'll have dinner, and we have study time with tutors, and then we'll go to bed at 10:30, I guess. Anything to add, Michael? Oh, you're muted.
With the project in the morning, you know, having enough time for the students, and I said this for those who were on the webinar last week, time is probably one of the biggest factors in learning. There's a fine balance between giving them enough time to explore and think and reflect and move on, rush them too much, and then they skip and the learning is lost. So the project in the morning will be long enough, usually around about 3 hours, 2.5 hours. So they've got time to really immerse themselves in the experience, obviously with breaks in between.
Yep.
So yeah, so I'm sorry. Do you want to do more?
So yeah, it's just an example of how the projects will go. It's like a long session, but yeah, you want to go into the details, Michael?
Yeah, so as we know through research now, that reflection is a very powerful part of the learning experience. It's probably where most of the learning really happens. But for all humans, you know, we don't necessarily reflect very well if we've just done something and we're still tired or emotionally engaged in it. So it starts with journaling, where they think about what's happened in the previous day. So it gives them time, it has given them a night to process the ideas, to be inspired. You know, I think we can all relate to the waking up in the middle of the night going, oh, I've had an idea, I've solved a problem. And this is our brain having the time to process information, sort it through, and come up with a solution. So that journaling is a very important part at the beginning. Then there's a period of direct instruction, where not necessarily from the teachers, it might be the student leaders of that group directing what needs to happen, what they need people to be doing. Then there's the collaborative work, so getting on with the project. Having a break for a small period of time, we just go outside, run around, get some fresh air, have some food, drinks and things like that. Coming back, again, having a mini session where they discuss what's been going on, how are things going, do they need to reset or change direction at all? Have they discovered a problem that's going to interfere with what they were thinking of doing? Again, direct instruction after that to give everybody clear focus, and then collaborative work. And as you can see, project-based learning isn't airy-fairy, everybody sitting around and imagining great futures. There's a very clear system in place and process in place that allows the students to find the information they need, but it gives them the time to do that.
Michael, let me just interrupt. One person asked, like, your explanation of residential life is very helpful, but what are the implications of kids living remotely from their parents' guidance? Do the kids lose anything?
How about I answer that from a school's point of view, and then
Sure.
as a mother of kids who are at a boarding school, you can answer from your point of view. Would that be a good way to do it?
Yes, that would be a great idea. Yes.
Okay, so it's a great question. So I'll just see who answered so I can speak to them. Scott. Evening, Scott, or afternoon, depending on where you are. It's a really good question. Kids are away from home. So from what I've seen at schools, the schools that do boarding really well, there's that real sense of social emotional support within the school, within the boarding, that the students are living in a community that they value and that they feel valued by. So that's a really important part of it. I've worked in schools where the boarding house is just like a hotel, and the kids are just there. They're told when dinner is. You will go down to dinner between these hours. You will do this between these hours. maybe a mix between a hotel and a very low security prison. And the students don't feel at all connected. They feel lonely. And when they feel lonely, they tend to look for anybody who will stop them feeling lonely. And quite often that's usually the person who seems to be having the most fun, which is the person who's usually breaking the rules. But a really good boarding school, and I've seen this as well, is where everybody's invested in making it fun, making it a place of safety for them, emotional safety as well as physical. And so a really good boarding school, the students feel invested in it. They feel like it's theirs, not that they are just living in somebody else's. Which leads me on to my last point, which probably plays into Tomoko-san's, which is their connection with home. I've just come back from living in Switzerland, and I'm sorry to say that we had some parents who didn't feel very strongly connected to their kids. And so they would often not be available for the bi-weekly chats with their children. And for me, I think that probably had the most negative impact. So we are looking after your children, the residential life, but that doesn't mean that your connection to them is lost at all. If you think about it, when your kids go on camp, they have so much to tell you about what's gone on during the week. They're excited to share their experiences, and residential life should be exactly like that. They should be calling you and going, oh my God, guess what we did this week? Guess what happened? And they should be excited to share with you. And as a parent, I have no doubt that you would be excited to hear what they have to say. So you're still keeping that really strong emotional bond. Tomoko-san, from a parent's point of view.
Yes, thank you. I have 3 children, and 2 of them, well, my eldest is 18 and my middle one is 16, and they both went off to boarding school when they were in the 7th grade. And my daughter in particular, the eldest, she chose to go to the boarding school. She really wanted to experience it. So she went off to Europe. And I wasn't really sure if I really wanted to let her go at the age of 12. It just seemed so young. And I was much more worried and scared, I guess, than she was. But when I look back on it, I guess when right around when she hit puberty, I guess we started quarreling a lot at home. Like I wanted her to do this and that, and then she didn't want to do it. And it was really difficult at times. But after she went off to the boarding school, I just respected her so much more for her courage. And I could see that she was trying really hard. And when she comes home, like I think she had the renewed sense of appreciation for the family and home. So our relationship got so much better actually after she went off to boarding school. And also, I guess she was a type of person who really flourished in the boarding environment. She was very lucky to have amazing teachers, amazing tutors, amazing house parents. And I really appreciated the way they cultivated her identity and really helped shape who she is today. And I sometimes feel that if I had sent her to the regular Japanese school, she may not have turned out as happy and amazing person that she is now. So I am super grateful. That's part of the reason why I really wanted to create the boarding school in HAKUBA. I think our environment is really amazing, and I think the team we are getting together is also amazing, and I think we could really provide a great education opportunity here. And I completely understand, as the mother of 3 children who let go of 2 of them at the young age, the anxiety and worries. And maybe boarding may not be for every child, but from my experience, it really worked for our children, and they grew up so much. And I just have nothing but appreciation for the school who helped them grow so much. So that's my take on the subject. Sorry, it's a bit long, but.
Yeah, Scott, I hope that's answered your question. If not, please put another question in the Q&A and we can explore it further. It's an absolutely fantastic question, though.
Yeah, I had exactly the same question as I let my kids go, so completely understand it. Thank you so much. Okay, I guess maybe we can talk a little bit about the school site. We have quite a large forest at the foot of a place called Iwatake Ski Resort. It's surrounded by the rice paddies and the farmlands, and it's really beautiful. As you can see, it's just a forest at the moment, and we have no building there. So maybe if you go on to the next slide, Michael. I guess what we are planning to do now is that we are going to, actually I'm going to sign the contract this Thursday, which is really exciting, to purchase the existing accommodation to turn it into our boarding house. It's a really nice, pretty big accommodation, and we will be renovating it in time for the school to open in September. And our school site is the forest, as you saw. And so we would not be having the actual building, permanent built learning space when we open the school. So we always say that, okay, HAKUBA is like the large classroom. So we will like take that as a big field and go out to the community and learn. But we do have a temporary sort of classrooms that we could use until we build the school. And our hope is to build a zero carbon school building in that forest using the local wood. And we would like our inaugural class students to help design it so that they feel that they have participated in designing the learning facility that they're going to use. So they will take the learning into their own hands, and it would help them feel that they are taking charge of their own learning. Anything to add, Michael?
No, I think you've covered it very, very well there.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so we touched upon the advisors that we have. If you had participated in our webinar 2 days ago, we have those amazing experts kind of giving us the professional development to our teachers team, which is great. And we are going to publish the webinar from 2 days ago on our YouTube channel, hopefully within the next few days. So if you had missed it, please take a look. I think you would find it quite interesting. And maybe next slide, Michael. Thank you. And those are our supporters. Ikuko is an amazing educator who is the IB's Japan ambassador, and who runs her own school called Tokyo International School. Amazing person. And Kathy Matsui was my, well, I don't know if I should say colleague, but she was a really senior person at Goldman Sachs when I worked there. And she's been a big supporter for us, and she's been amazing. Takeshi Okada is a soccer legend in Japan, and then he's been really supportive. And of course, the mayor of Hakuba Village has been supporting us and is looking forward to our school opening. So it's amazing to have all those people and many more to sort of look forward to our project to happen. The next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, just briefly about the timeline. So we are opening the school next year in September. And so the students who will be coming in next year will help us design the school facility, and we'll be building it. It's exciting, and it should be completed in 2023, or depending on how long the snow season might be, it could be 2024. And then we will be offering IBDP from 2025, when next year's 8th graders would hit the 11th grade. And we'll be having our first graduation ceremony in 2027, which I cannot wait. Okay. Oh, and tuition and fees information. So for middle school, we're saying that 2.8 million yen of per year of tuition, and for high school, 3.2 million yen per year, and the boarding fee would be 1.38 million yen per year. And obviously, if you are day students, you're not paying this 1.38 million. And the registration fee, when you first enroll into our school, it will be 300,000 yen. It's just one time. And we are hoping to offer a scholarship program if we get enough donations. So more on that later, I guess. And whoop, I think we skipped the admissions page, but sorry, we are getting close to the end of the session. Thank you. So for admissions, basically, we are having 4 more admissions sessions scheduled this year. So in November, either Saturday 27th or Sunday 28th, if you could come to HAKUBA and take our admissions, that'd be great. In December, it will be Saturday 4th and Sunday the 5th, also in HAKUBA. And what we are going to do is we will have 2 hours of mini project. So the students will be asked to work on the mini project. We'll do a workshop. And at the same time, the parents will be in another room with us, and we'll discuss what kind of education we are aiming to offer. So if you could come to HAKUBA, that's great. But I understand that some of you are overseas and it's really hard to travel at the moment. And in that case, we will come up with the online version of admissions. If you are interested, please, thank you, fill in the, go to our homepage, onto our admissions page, and please fill in the pre-registration form first, and then go to info session and admissions registration form, in which you could choose which admissions date that you plan to attend and those things. And we are asking the students to submit 2 reference letters, one from the current school that you attend, and the other from an adult who knows you well through either your sports team or a piano teacher or anyone in the community who knows you well. So we would like to have 2 reference letters and also 2 years of transcripts from your current school. And we would like those things to be submitted by January 14th. So those are the requirements. And to attend the admission session, which is a pop-up school, which is basically what we will be doing in our full-time school in a really short version of it. You would have to pay the examination fee of 25,000 yen. So I guess that's basically the information on the admissions, and I hope we'll see many of you there. Okay, I think that kind of concludes our session today. If anyone has any more questions, right, I think Akiko just put in the chat the Google form where you can submit your questions or comments. So if you have anything that you want us to answer or get back to you with, please fill in the form. Do you want to add anything, Michael?
No, I think we've covered it well, and hopefully anybody who has any questions, please do not hesitate. There is no question too small. Please, anything you want to know, we're happy to help.
Yeah, so please let us know. I must admit, in the past, we've been a bit slow in responding to some of your questions, and I apologize. We've been a little bit overwhelmed, but we are getting better, I think. So please let us know. And yeah, I guess we are 2 minutes to the time that we close. And if maybe we'll wait for a few more minutes to see if there's anyone else who has questions. And if not, maybe we can conclude the session.
Akiko-san said for us to go off video at the end.
Ah, great.
So, there's Akiko-san.
Thank you, Akiko. Thank you so much. We are very, very excited about this opportunity. I feel that we have really an amazing opportunity to build something that is for the future of the students and the future of this planet, more or less. So I really hope that some of you will be joining us and build it together with us. And I think this is the most exciting adventure I've ever had in my life. And I hope it will be yours as well, at least for some of you. And thank you again, everyone, for coming. And thank you, Michael, for helping me. And if you have any questions again, please let us know. And we'll see you hopefully very soon. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.